It's grand obstructionism. It's grand obstructionism. Oh, the bill's full pork. Bill's full pork. Oh, only 9% and 20% goes to working Americans. Only a small fraction of the bill goes to Americans. It's a bill full of pork, they say. That is a lie from the billionaires in the right-wing media. It is a lie. It's all gullible. It's not true. The majority of the bill goes to Americans. There is some small amount of pork in the bill. We're not saying it isn't. But if Chuck Schumer wants to allocate $500 million to build a bridge in New York, or whatever Nancy Pelosi is doing, that's not okay. But $500 million, divide $500 million by 1.9 trillion. That is still a small amount of the bill that is so-called pork in the COVID relief bill. It is a lie. I was hearing from my right-wing libertarian uncle in New Jersey, only 19% of the bill helps ordinary Americans. He watches Tucker Carlson. He watches Fox News. He doesn't get the real news. He doesn't get the real unbiased, unfiltered information, right? This is hate billionaire-backed media. They don't want COVID relief. They want austerity. In the name of politics, they don't want relief for Americans during these hard times. Through no fault of their own are people experiencing this as a result of our own government's lack of trusting science and being serious about COVID, and from the lack of transparency in China. So here is the truth. Most Americans support the bill. 66% of Americans support the bill. Republicans have raised the question throughout the discussion of Biden's proposal, in some cases exaggerating the nature of the spending that's not tied directly to COVID containment. So Republicans are being grand obstructionists. Remember, Bill Clinton was a very conservative Republican president. End welfare as we know it. Be tough on the border, right? Be fiscally conservative, decrease spending, but Newt Gingrich and Republicans did whatever they could to impeach and oust a popular president. It didn't matter how popular he was. Mitch McConnell said he wanted to make Obama a winter president. Obama worked with the Republican. Obama was never going to win on compromise with a grand obstructionist organization. The Republicans just want to obstruct at whatever cost to undermine the Americans if it means winning the midterms in the White House in 2024. Politics in the Republican Party is getting they're the thing that's holding us back. Republicans and Democrats, the majority of Republican and Democrat voters in America support the COVID relief bill. Why do they support the COVID relief bill? Because we need enhanced economic recovery from the government. A long list of initiatives is clearly related to the pandemic, however. Republicans say 10%, 20% of the bill, 10, 20% of the bill goes to the people. Well, that's already debunked. About 22% of the total bill goes towards the 1,400 stimulus checks. Now, the income threshold has been phased down. For people making $100,000, they're supporting their parents, their grandparents, right? These people are going to be hurt. These people are upset about that. A combined 12% of the bill is going towards subsidized COBRA for laid-off workers, Affordable Care Act subsidies, expand nutrition assistance, replace school lunch programs, funding for testing and contact tracing, disaster relief fund increases, converting COVID-19 related funeral expenses, grants to airlines and contractors to freeze layoffs through September, Defense Production Act funding for medical supplies, grants for restaurants and bars that have lost revenue in the pandemic, economic injury disaster loan advance grants of up to $10,000 per business. So we are at, you guessed it, 34%, but everything this bill is going towards the wealthy in Washington, D.C.? Absolutely not. The majority of the bill helps Americans. Another $519 billion, 27% of the total amount, of the relief is going to stay in local governments and schools, much of which will make up losses related to the pandemic and to help schools reopen. By the way, they're doing this in Arizona. The kids are back in the classroom in mid March, according to Governor Ducey. I don't know where else they're reopening schools. Republicans know much of the school funding, however, won't be spent immediately. That's true. Once they reopen, then they will be able to spend that money. If the government and school aid is included in the category, about 85% of the American Rescue Plan is pandemic related. Okay, so what is the remaining 15%? The remaining 15% is the pork. But don't fall for the right wing lie. We need to pass the bill because the majority of this bill helps ordinary Americans during this pandemic. It is Republicans that want to cut taxes for the billionaires that are trying to sabotage the bill. The Republican Party has made it clear that it is against $1,400 checks for Americans. The Republican Party has made it clear that you deserve no relief instead of getting temporary relief during a time of crisis, which is not of the fault of your own. So this claim is completely false. Okay, so what does it say right there? About 85% is pandemic related. More than 99% of the American Rescue Plan is going to Americans, though some of that falls in the category of political pork, right? This is how the elite in Washington, D.C. are genius. Like, hey, 100% of the bill doesn't have to go towards Americans. The remaining 1%, let's just give some free handouts to all of our buddies and all of our corporations and all of ourselves. The 9% figure is actually what is going to fund direct disease containment, such as vaccines, testing, and tracing, right? This is the 9%. Republicans absolutely made this up. 9% is going to Americans. No, it's going towards funding to contain the coronavirus. The rest of it is going to help subsidize small business, going to pandemic relief of $1,400 checks, expanded grants. Don't fall for the right-wing lie. Most of this bill helps Americans, period. What these gullible right-wingers are believing is nothing but billionaire propaganda, because sociopathic billionaires rather want you to have no COVID relief, rather getting temporary relief. Now, the billionaires are blocking the $15 an hour minimum wage. I will be making a special video on the corporate donor-backed, corporate Democrat, establishment phony, Republican white wolves in sheep's clothing who voted to strike down the minimum wage. We will expose every single one of those Republican politicians posing as Democrats. They are nothing but progressive Republicans. They're Republican white corporate Democrat establishment. And we're going to zips!